this is gonna tie into that topic or conversation. So very briefly, last year, when you compare 2020 to 2021, our market share increased a little over 20% and for our office, about 22%. The market improved as far as numbers of sales. That's the statistics I'm dealing with right now. The number of transactions in Pensacola was up, depending on your area, around 12 or 13, 14%. Okay. So we could say that the office outperformed the market a little bit, about 25%. Okay. It tells us where we are. And what we talked about at the 8 o'clock call is finding out how you're doing compared to the market. And appreciate a number of you have sent me, information on how that's doing. But the logical question is, and the one that everybody is asking us, if you're out walking around with a name badge on or handing out real estate cards, what are people asking you? Come on.
Is the market still crazy?
Yep. Is the market still crazy? What's the market going to do? How long is this going to last? Are we going to have another bubble? They're expecting, because you're a real estate agent in the business, that you can give them some indication as to what the market is going to do. So what do you guys answer?
I'm getting asked a lot if the market is going to crash, and I'm just providing data from every source I can get it from, including the symposium last week that the Women's Council did, that, about the gross equity in homes in America. And even though the prices are crazy, we don't have the mortgage meltdown. So we don't appear to be headed towards a great recession or even with the inflation. So just try to read. And
some people saying that, right, Randall?
they are saying that, but not the financial gurus.
Yeah. Okay. So when people are asking, they're wondering, are sales going to stay like they have been? And they're asking, what about prices? Is this a good time right now to buy? What do you think? Has the market peaked? Have I missed the good opportunity? How do you answer that question? I'm going to tell you how confused people are. These are the predictions from the smartest. Helen, you got something? These are the predictions from the smartest people in the business.
Can you ever really predict it for sure? Because I don't have a crystal ball.
Can you guys see this? The board? Fannie Mae says prices are going to go up 7%. The all-wise Zillow says 12% increase in prices in 2022. Goldman says 16% increase in prices in 2022. How do we deal with this when the experts can't agree? Right? Fannie Mae's predicting 7, Zillow says 12, Goldman says 16. All right. So if Goldman's right and prices go up 16%, it's a pretty good time to buy right now, isn't it? What could you invest in that's going to go up 16% next year and you get to use every day? If Zillow's correct, it's a good time to buy. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. Where are you going to put $10,000 or $20,000, which is what a down payment would be, and get 12% interest on $250,000, which is what you're getting if prices go up 12% on a house? even if Zillow is correct, 7% is pretty good return on an investment that you put 20, 15 or 10% down and control $250,000 worth of assets. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody know what's normal?
Hey, Audie.
Yes.
And actually, if you have 20% down, your whole house is gonna go up 12%, give or take. So you'd actually make a whole lot more than 12% on the money that you have into it.
Yeah, Joshua, that's what I'm talking about. It's leverage. You're going to put down 20% or 15%, but you're going to get appreciation on $250,000 house, or 275 if you're saying what is the average cost of a home right now, the median, 275, right? So what is the normal? What's a normal market appreciation?
3%.
2 to 4.
2%
3% is inflation.
to 4%, but normal is 3%. So even if our lowest prediction, Fannie Mae, is correct, we're still going to see prices increase twice the normal rate plus. So if people are asking, have I missed the opportunity? What's the answer?
No.
No.
So let me ask you this. What are the things that control this number?
Supply.
Supply,
Interest rate,
the cost of money,
Cost of money?
interest rate, yeah.
employment or unemployment.
Oh, write that down. Employment. I didn't put that down. That's a good one.
It's the economy, stupid. Somebody
Economy,
said
stupid.
once.
All right. So when supply goes up, prices go down. When demand goes up and supply stays the same, what happens?
Prices
Value
go up.
increases.
Right, right. And then there are aspects of our stupid economy that impact that. Interest rates, availability of money, employment, those things control pricing. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
So this point on this graph is what we call equilibrium in the price. Supply and demand staying steady. We have a equilibrium in the market, in the pricing. Do we have that currently?
No,
Head shaking, no. Lots of head shaking, no. We do not have equilibrium. This is not real. Why?
But everything's changing.
we still have more buyers and then we have product to sell.
Sorry, if Sissy's on here, I owe $5. We still have, what did you say, Allison?
We still have more buyers than we have product to sell.
We've got more buyers than product to sell. All right. How are we doing with supply?
Well, that would be the product to sell. So it's, if that is the supply, we have a high supply of buyers and a low supply of product for them.
Builders have said locally in the association that they are not going to catch the demand. They're not even going to try. So they've been behind for about 5 years now of demand, And they said they're not even gonna make an attempt to catch it because they learned their lesson in '08.
So you guys are saying that you'd like to talk about supply first. Let's do that. All right. Randall says builders are telling him they're not going to make an effort to catch up. If you're taking notes so that you can sound smarter when you talk to people, write this down. Supply and prices are inverse, which means when supply goes up, prices decrease. And when supply goes down, prices increase. So supply and price are inverse. And Randall is saying that we're not going to catch up anytime soon. So here's some more numbers you can write down if you want to talk with people about supply. In 2018, we had a housing shortage of 1.8 million homes in America in 2018. In 2019, that number jumped to 2.4 million in shortage in 2019. Currently, you guys, our housing shortage is 4.5 million. We're 4.5 million. Builders need to build 4.5 million homes tomorrow to achieve equilibrium. And Randall's saying local guys say they don't even want to because they're probably enjoying high prices, making more profit on building fewer homes.
It's a whole lot less risky for them.
Yep. Good point, Allison. So here's the thing. At the current rate of construction, it will take 8 or 9 or 10 years to catch up. You know, we just had a fire out west that wiped out whole communities. There's one town that literally had 2 homes for rent when the town burnt down, and they now have 1,200 people homeless. That's not catching up, right? So probably 9 years to catch up at our current rate, because a lot of builders are trying to catch up. A lot of builders are getting in the business that weren't before.
I understand how we
to
can
be profitable, right? From 1975 to 2006, housing starts increased steadily from 1 million to 2.2 million a year. So the starts, that's something we track. We look at how many starts. If we go on Metro Market and we see how many new permits were pulled, and that's going to tell us something about increased supply. 2006 to 2009, what happened in 2006?
Recession.
We had a recession. We had a bubble. We had a real estate collapse, right? So starts dropped to about 500,000 in 2009, down from 2.5 million. That's, if you think about that, it's a friggin' staggering decrease in home starts. Randall, that's when they really said, when they say they're remembering what happened back in 2009, this is what they're remembering. Make sense? We're currently starting 1.4 million starts now. Monthly new starts, right? So we haven't even caught up to 2006 rates of construction. If we charted this 1975, we would have seen this. Starts down here at 1.4, 2.4, 2009, and then down like this. And now we're back up about right here. 1.4 million starts. Look. So, what does this tell us about supply?
That it's going to continue to be, it's going to continue to be low.
We're not saying anything catching up real soon, are we?
Build it and they will buy.
Also, the
Something's
largest
happening that Laura said
generation,
was gonna happen.
the largest generation to even to exceed the boomer generation is the millennial generation by several million people are at the age where they're buying their first homes. So that's another factor to add into that.
Randall, please hang on to that thought, because we're getting ready in a minute to shift the demand, and that's relevant in demand. I got a couple more thoughts I want to tell you all about supply that's relevant. So what about foreclosures and properties in forbearance? Do you guys remember just a few months ago, everybody said we're going to have this massive foreclosures coming into the marketplace and it's going to increase supply? You know, does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have a lot of people still believing it. I'm hearing it all the time. You know, I'm waiting until they start getting some foreclosures on the market. So here's some things that you could consider with people when you have this discussion is forbearances. You know, the government put a forbearance in place for COVID. Forbearances are coming down from 9 million in January of 20 to about half that amount now. People are already coming out of forbearance and they're not doing it by foreclosure. Right? It doesn't look like foreclosures are going to add a lot of inventory to our supply. And here's some reasons why. Back in 2006, everybody bought when properties were high. Not everybody, but a lot did. Others who had equity in their house took their equity out and bought boats and paid off credit cards and bought jet skis and bought second homes with the equity out of their house, and they were upside down.
Mhm.
You think about it today, anybody that bought a house 5 or 6 years ago probably has equity. And because of market concerns about the economy, people are not drawing that equity out. And this country has a record amount of equity in the real estate market. So even if they've not been making their payments, they can call a real estate agent, sell their property, and maybe get a little cash in their pocket instead of giving. You know, I remember when Kramer on CSNBC talked to people and he held up a credit card like this and he said, "You need a credit card. Pay your credit card off." And then he reached in his pocket and he got a set of keys out and he dangled them. And he says, "These are your keys to your house. You can rent." And throw them on the banker's desk. Give them the house back. Keep your credit card, right? We're not in that situation now. People have equity in their homes. The last thing I would say on this is investors are lined up with big money. Investors like Blackstone and people who in the past have never invested in single homes. They bought apartments and commercial. They are lined up and letting banks know we will buy blocks of single family residential homes. Investors want to buy any foreclosures. So if you have a company that buys 200 foreclosures in the panhandle at a time, is it likely that that's going to add supply to our market?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So any other thoughts on supply? All right. Randall wanted to talk about demand. Randall wants to talk about demand. Randall, did you want to talk about demand?
Sure. Is there a demand out there right now?
Yeah, we know there is. But tell me, what did you just say a minute ago about young people getting in the market?
On top of the shortage of supply, we've added the largest generation of millennials, even to exceed the boomer generation, are now buying homes. They've stopped listening to Sue Zorman, who said to rent, told them to rent their whole life, they'd be better off. And they're wanting to buy houses, and they're at that age, and a lot of them still haven't bought a home, and they're wanting to buy. And they don't have anything to compare it to, you know, that the prices were low at some point and all that. All they know is they've got their career job, and it, you know, interest rates are low, so it's time to buy a house.
Okay, so, Blair, if you kind of keep an eye on the chat and let me know if I miss anything, because I can't read it from way over here. Randall, what is the prime home buying age for first-time buyers? Anybody know?
I'm just gonna guess and say around 30.
Perfect. You know, it is 30. 30 is the prime home buying time. Millennials are those young people born from 1980 through the 90s, right? Mid 80s to the 90s. The largest number of millennials that are alive today turned 30 in 2022. It means that statistically, we've got the largest block of first-time home buyers ever coming into the market in 2022. That is going to impact demand, wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
And here's the good news. These guys have been working for a while. They have a little money, and they probably aren't all looking for $100,000 houses. So this is going to absolutely fuel demand and put pressure on supply, wouldn't you think? So write this down. I hope you wrote that down, but price and demand track parallel, not inverse like supply. They track parallel. So your prices go up when demand increases. Normally. That make sense? Somebody nod.
Yes.
All right. Demand has been on a steady increase. Since 2015, we've had an increased demand nationwide of 200,000 to 275 monthly increase in demand. It surged in 2020 to 310,000 increased. Took a 2-month dip at the beginning of COVID back to 200,000. And we're calling this the COVID surge that happened afterwards. Home ownership is down to 65%. At the peak, it was at 69%. So do we have an opportunity for growth between 65 and 69%?
Mhm.
We do. And by the way, 4% of 400 million people is a lot. Any other thoughts on demand?
You have a comment in the chat from Janice that says, when the feds have to raise the interest rate and national debt, there will not be the same demand, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Wow, this is a smart group. Yeah, what we need to look at is what impacts demand. I will tell you that those experts, the Fannie Mae, the Zillow, and the Goldman Sachs, expect demand to stay steady. I don't know what you guys expect, but that's what they're saying. So, it's okay. We'll talk about interest rates, because who said that about interest rates?
Janice Heflin.
So Janice, we'll talk about that now. It ties in with affordability, which is another major. Interest rates actually affect affordability. Put affordability up there too. So we'll talk about those two kind of together, if that's okay.
Hey, Audie, can I say something in regards to Janice's comment?
Sure.
You know, she's right about the interest rate, but you know, there's a lot of people that are buying investment properties right now for renting. So those people that are not going to buy, they have to live somewhere. They're going to have to rent somewhere, and they're going to be paying astronomical rent prices.
Yeah. Do you remember earlier I said prices and demand normally track parallel normally? I will
Mhm.
tell you that it used to be that when real estate sales went up, the rental market got good for brokers. And when rents market got good for brokers, sales were typically off. They're tracking parallel too right now, but that's the reason Holly and I 10 years ago decided we were going to really push a property management, is because if we felt like if there was a recession and we took a hit in sales, that we could maybe count on rentals to kind of keep the company alive. And but it's been odd for about the last 6 or 7 years. They're tracking very parallel. So what are interest rates right now? Does anybody know?
Two to 3% with
Somewhere around
investment,
3%.
5, 6.
I think
3%?
I'm seeing some 3.25s on some clients.
With
What'd you say,
investor
Randall?
percentages being closer to 5 or 6, sometimes 7.
1975 interest rates were 7.5%. 1983, anybody know what they were?
22.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Closer to 12.
18%, but we're up to 22, right? In 1983. I'll tell you, 1975, 7.5% had been that way for years. That was just considered normal rate for a mortgage, was 7.5%,
Mhm.
7.5. And then because of inflation, interest rates started going up. We had a shortage of gas and the cost of fuel went way up, and that drove everything else up. Sound familiar?
Mhm.
Yesterday, gas was $3.22 in the 3 places I looked to get gas coming back from Mobile. So 18.5% at its peak, and then it began to fall off. And it reached 7.5% again in 2020. And now we're going to call it 3.5. 3.4, I think, is what it was when I checked it. Okay.
In 2020, 7.5%?
What?
In
Yeah.
2020, 20? I mean,
No, 2000, I'm sorry.
2002, yeah.
Okay, all right, so, what do you think is average or normal?
Oh,
Do you
5 or
think the
6.
there's any chance that the market might, without government intervention, be somewhere around 7.5%?
Mhm.
Probably, right? But we've got, the government has been working hard to keep interest rates low so we can keep the economy stroked. The problem is now we have inflation. The Fed is signaling we're going to have an increase in interest rates. Initially, they said in the 4th quarter of this year, 2022. Now, the president's in a jam because inflation is killing him. But if he raises interest rates and slows things down, that's not going to look good either. I don't know that he has a lot of control over the Fed. They're going to do pretty much what they want, and that's a good thing. But they are signaling an increase. Anybody got any idea at what interest rates we may see it impact the market?
I bet when you start going above 5, people are going to start freaking out.
All right, they're going to freak out at 5.
I think
Yeah.
above 4, they'll start impacting it, but not as bad as 5. But I think at 4, it'll start impacting.
So that's what economists say. Jessica, you're right. Economists say somewhere around 4% we'll start to see a cooling of demand. Some change of demand at around 4%. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how much they're going to raise interest rates. But if we're at 3.4, 3.5 right now, and it's having no impact on slowing inflation down, it's a pretty good bet it's probably going to bump above 4%. Inflation is currently over 5.5%, and the government wants it at 2.5%. Inflation is twice what they'd like it to be. But you guys, I just read over the weekend that lettuce is going up 67%.
What is?
Lettuce. Not a big emergency for me because I don't eat a lot of lettuce. You know, I'm more concerned with the fact that beef is going up 17% and that gas is up 41%, right? And the cost of housing, we know, is going up significantly, right? So how does rising interest rates, why does that impact us?
Because we have a finite amount of funds to work with.
The buyers won't be able to afford the house that they want.
It's going to affect affordability and qualifying ability. So you guys need to be able to talk to people about this, because I'm going to tell you an incredible script that I would get on the telephone and use right now with everybody that's in my database that's just been sitting on the fence is I would call them up and I would say, Jessica, you know, interest rates look like they're going to go up maybe to 5% this year, toward the end of the year. What would it take for us to get you into a house before prices go up another 12% and interest rates go up 2 or 3%? Now, you're not going to have that conversation if you don't understand what comes next, because you're not going to want to talk about this. But you need to be able to talk about it. So take some notes and then play with this and get your dialogue, your script comfortable with this. If we compare 5% interest rate to 3% interest rate, this is what we find. At 3%, someone qualifies for $450,000 in a loan. That's what they qualify for. Your buyer goes to the bank at 3% interest and he qualifies at $450,000. However, if that interest rate goes to 5%, I'm sorry, it's the number we're talking about, he only qualifies for $300,000. 2% difference in the interest rate means he qualifies for $150,000 less house. Now you can apply the same number to somebody. Huh?
And there are a lot less houses in that price.
Oh yeah. You know, we could run the same number for somebody that qualifies at 300,000 at 3%, and we'd find now they qualify for just a little over $200,000, right? And what about somebody that right now qualifies at $200,000? How big a change does that make in their ability to find something in this market when interest rates change? So you want to be able to express this. The impact on the market by rising interest rates are going to create payment shock because the payment's going to be higher than they thought it was going to be. It's going to require more down payment to buy the same house, and they got less buying power. They qualify for less. All three of those things impact affordability. Make sense? Now, I don't know if any of this is good news or bad news. It's just what it is. But I'll tell you, here's some good news. There is still money available. Banks haven't went to the extreme of severely tightening up credit. You've had to have good credit for a while now. You know, so they're not giving away money like they were back in 2006. You still need to qualify, but there's still money to lend. Mortgages haven't dried up, and I think that is relevant. Any other thoughts on interest rates? I'm going to give you some other thoughts on affordability. All right. I think this is my opinion, but I have a good opinion. What does that card say? Oh, yeah, stick that up there. Mortgage is still available. All right. So I think affordability is the biggest risk to us and our business and to home sales. We got two things likely happening in this next year that affect affordability. We have the risk of an increased interest rates, and if Zillow, Fannie Mae, or certainly Goldman are correct, we're going to see a significant increase just in prices, right? So prices going up and interest going up are all going to impact affordability. What else about interest rates affect affordability? Do you guys realize that builders borrow in order to build? So there are interest rates baked into the cost of a new home. Those rates go up, affordability is going to increase. A lot of people say there's an affordability crisis on the horizon. That is the one place that most economies are gathering together on. They disagree on a lot of other stuff, but on this they agree. Especially concerning lower income and starting homes. You don't have to be an economist to know that. You guys know finding starter homes in that price range is tough, don't you? It is. And inflation, think about this. Let me give you an example. I'm old. You know I'm old. In 1972, I went into the Chevy dealership in my hometown, small town, about 8,000 people. I ordered a new Nova, not just a Nova. I ordered a Rally package. It meant it had a 4-barrel carburetor, an optional 4-speed on the floor, had an AM, FM with 8-track player. It had Rally stripes, Rally wheels, and Rally tires. It looked good. All black interior with bucket seats, white car with black stripes. I traded in a 1964 Ford Galaxy for that car. The price out the door was $2,700. I traded that Galaxy down and financed $1,900. I mean, yeah, $1,900. And the dealer financed me. Everybody in my hometown knew me. I'd worked a full-time job since I was 12, had credit in most of the stores around the square. I financed the car in 72 and the price was $2,700. 2 weeks ago, I bought a new transmission, a rebuilt transmission for my Tahoe. It was $6,000. That's inflation. It costs more for a transmission today than it costs for a car 40 years ago, 50 years ago. That's inflation. But here's the thing, when inflation starts to run like it is now, and people are paying more for hamburger and bread and rent, and to get their car fixed and for gas, their ability to buy a house is decreased because proportionally, a house takes more a percentage of their budget. So inflation rates. There's something called an affordability index that economists track. Okay. They basically adjust for inflation. And in 1999, January was at $100,000 cost of a house. It went up to 200,000. Can you guys see, or am I in the way here? It went up to $200,000 in 07. Affordability of a house. Then, you know what happened? By January of 2012, we were looking at about 99. Big drop, right? Cost of a house had basically cut in half. And it adjusts this based on people's income. But we had a turnaround start in 12. And adjusted for inflation, we're at 275,000 right now. You guys can't see this, can you? So cost of a house today, January of 2021, it's even more now, almost 3 times what it was adjusted for inflation. Affordability is going to be an issue at some point if this keeps up. Any questions on this? Anything in the chat? I'm feeling very alone here. I'm not getting much response. You guys can say enough. I'll stop anytime.
It's very sobering.
Yeah. So historically, the payment as a percentage of income in the United States has been 21.2% of the average income. That's historically what we see. Americans spend 21.2% of their income on housing. Anybody want to guess what it is today?
40%.
40 to 45%.
Yeah, I knew. I set you up for this, you guys. I really did. Because here's the good news. It's currently only 16.5%.
That's awesome.
Incomes went up.
How much was that, Audie, again?
16.5%. Now, what do you think is the driving reason that historically it's 21.5 and currently, even though prices have been going up like crazy, it's only 16.5?
Lower interest rates.
Yes, ma'am. What did I tell you was the average, the normal interest rate that a country wants is 7.5%.
Mhm.
If we adjusted interest rates today to 7.5% and people be paying 7.5% on a mortgage, it would well exceed 21.2%. It would be higher. The low income have kept property affordable. Is it still a good time to buy a house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Prices are going to go up. Get in on it now. Interest rates are still low. It's costing you 4% less, 4.5% less to buy a house today, even with higher prices, than historically it has in this nation. It's a good time. Let me ask you one other question. If interest rates go up to 7.5%, how valuable is a mortgage that's at 3.4?
Very.
Do you think some of your fence setters in 5 years, when their friends are trying to buy a house at 7.5 or 8% interest and 16 or 22% more money because prices have been going up over the time, are going to thank you for helping them get in a house with a mortgage at 3.4%? Say yes, they are going to love you. Okay. Somebody wanted to talk unemployment. That's another reason right now that demand is up. I mean, we have record low unemployment in this country. There are jobs to be had. It used to be, I was a general manager for a builder for a number of years, and I had 2 sales managers, and we tracked unemployment more than anything else, unemployment and interest rates, because back then interest rates were volatile. They were going up and down all the time. And we tracked unemployment because unemployment told us, is the economy going to be able to support new homes? my builder literally made decisions every month on how many starts to put in the ground for spec homes based on unemployment and interest rates. So we need to keep an eye on that. But right now, I think it's good. So does anybody have an answer for what's going to happen to the market? Blair, am I still on the line?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We're just all got that reptile look on our face right now.
So here's how we can talk about this together and make some decisions. Yeah, I'm knocking everything in my office down. Sorry about that. If on this line, this represents high increases, maybe this puts us out there beyond Goldman at 22, 23% increase in prices. And this aligns with the people who say, oh, interest rates are going to go and we're going to have a crash and you're going to see a decrease in prices of 15% by the end of the year. And this is prices are going to stay exactly the same. And you're being asked to give your most educated guess to clients. How can we use this to help us answer the question as to where we're going to be on this line at the end of 2022?
You guys can put your guesses in the chat and I can read them out.
Let's start with supply. Based on what we've been talking about, is supply going to be less or more supply? Is supply going to go way up and drive prices down? Remember, supply is inverse to prices. Or is supply going to continue to decrease? Where do you guys think this belongs on this line?
It's going to decrease.
We're going to have
Supply
less
is going
supply.
to increase. Supply is going to increase.
Some people think it's going to increase. Some
Yeah,
people think
the affordability, when people can't buy the houses because of the interest rates, you're going to have more homes on the market for sale.
Bonnie, you could be right. I'm going to put this back up here. We'll come back to supply.
That's Shelley.
Kind of
What do you
like
think's
the
gonna happen
chicken
to
and the
interest
egg.
rates?
It's kind of like the
Well-
chicken and the egg. Is it going to be supply or is it going to be the interest rates? Which comes
know,
first?
The
We gotta
thing
remember
is,
this, we're
I
only
don't
talking
think-
about 2022. So if interest rates go up at the end of 2022, will it really impact supply in the early part of the year? I would say
No.
probably not.
I thought they've already announced their increase in interest rates this summer. They've already laid out the plan for 2 increases this year.
Yeah, but I don't think we'll reach above 4% because in mortgages, some of that's already built in. I don't think we'll reach 4% till toward the end of the year, but we'll have a little shock. But what do you think? Is interest rates going to go up?
Mhm.
Yes.
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 Give us some
Yes.
answers in the chat because we're probably going to have to vote. So if interest rates go up, that's going to put pressure on prices to go down.
Yes.
So it belongs on this side of the equilibrium dot. That's equilibrium. All right. What about demand?
it's going to continue to go up.
Yeah, there's still not enough stuff.
Remember, the largest group of millennials turned 30 this year. And by the way, it's got a long tail. It's not going to be just a 1-year bump. There's a long tail of 30-year-olds coming in, 22, 23, 24. So I think we can say demand is going to increase,
Mhm,
most likely. Wouldn't you agree?
I do.
All right, I put some answers in there. Mortgages still available. I don't think mortgages are going to have a negative impact, not including interest, just availability of money. I don't think it's going to dry up. Do you?
No.
In fact, if we have a little dip in the stock market, there'll be more money going into mortgages.
And Also, they're paying off credit cards a lot faster and the banks are worried about that. So there probably will be a lot more money in mortgages. So they might even go up, possibly.
Good thought. Does everybody agree we've got a good unemployment situation right now?
Yes.
That's gonna keep demand high.
Yes.
Thank you,
All
Trent.
right, so we'll put it over here with this one. I'm coming back to supply.
Supply's gonna remain low.
2 lows in the chat.
Lowe's.
Yes, low supply.
Remember, we have a housing shortage of 4.5 million homes, and we won't catch up for 8, 9, or 10 years at current construction. I don't think there's any way that supply is going to move to this side of the dot of equilibrium next year. It's not going to be way up here, which is where it is right now. Criminy. I love hearing you guys tell me, put a house on the market yesterday, got 4 offers on it. Okay, now you put a house on the market yesterday and you only had 3 offers on it, right? But I think it's still going to be in this range here. And finally, affordability. Our gut reaction is that prices are going up and this is going to push it this way. But if we understand that figure, that historically 21.5% in somebody's income goes toward a home, and currently it's only at 16.5, we're going to have to see some real changes in interest rates for affordability to push down too much. It is.
Did you really mean for supply to be on the increase side?
We're talking about the effect on prices rather than.
Its effect on prices.
Oh, okay, okay.
So everything on this dot, if it's on this dot like mortgages are, it's saying it's going to be neutral.
Mhm.
If it's on this side, it's saying it's going to push prices up. If it's on this side where interest
Got
rates
it.
are, we think it's going to push prices down.
Got it.
We're talking about its impact on prices. So affordability probably going to be right in here somewhere.
Mhm.
It's having a little bit of impact to the negative, but maybe not too much. Now, if we look at this and say demand's going to stay high, supply is not going to increase, unemployment's good, affordability maybe a little negative, interest rates toward the end of the year, mortgages are good. What do you think is going to happen with prices?
They're going to continue to go up, maybe not out the roof, but they're going to continue to move up.
Your job in your own head is, if you see this, this is really fun. You see this as a balance point, is to say how much weighted is this? Do you agree with Fannie Mae that it's going to increase based on this 7%? Do you agree with Zillow it's going to be closer to 12? Or do you agree with Goldman Sachs it's going to be closer to 16 or 17%?
I think it depends on where you are in the country.
Yeah.
I think where we are in the country, we could see a bigger increase than other places.
Okay.
We've got a place where a lot of people are trying to leave more restricted communities to live in a quote freer state.
Allison, that is insightful, but it's not just about freer place. Do you guys realize that Pensacola just a month ago was rated by USA Today as one of the 10 best places in the country to get a value on real estate?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
USA Today says we're in the top 10 of places to find value in real estate. So that means that we're cheap compared to what we got, and that means we got room for prices to go up, and people will come find us here. I have mixed feelings about so many things. You know, I'm an environmentalist and I'm in the building development business. You know, I'm in a real estate business and I love customers to come to Florida and buy houses. but I wished all them northerners would stay home. I mean, I don't want my beach to be any more crowded. But these are the facts. You guys, I hope this is helpful to you. I hope that you'll sit down sometime today, look over your notes and say, how can I use this conversation to help my customers and my clients and my own business? And if you're in the 8 o'clock call, how can you use this to drive market share? How can you use this in your own mind to retool your business to, if it goes up, prices go up 16%, how's that going to impact you? If it goes up 7, how's that going to impact you? Are you going to have the wherewithal to call, old buyers from the internet and Zillow and, people that are sitting on the fence and have this conversation with them? Are you going to be able to have confidence to look somebody in the face that says, I'm just kind of scared to buy now because I'm afraid the bottom's going to fall out? Well, let me tell you some stuff I know. All right, Blair, I'm done. You're on.
That was a wonderful job, Audie.
Thank you, Audie.
We're going to do wants and needs now.
Yeah, I was just double checking what I have, and it looks like all we have left to do is wants and needs.
Okay, wait.
Yes.
You're just bugging me to say where I think it's going to be. Based on these predictions, it's where I think it's going to be. 13% increase in prices. That's my guess. And it's a guess. Educated guess, but it's a guess.
I'm gonna mark it down, Audie, and we're gonna look at this in January of 2023.
Okay, cool. Mark it down.
All right. Wants and needs?
Hey, I've got a buyer that's going to be looking for a lot of houses in the 100,000 range.
Okay.
And I know that's a really low price, but he's doing investment rentals. So if anybody has houses that need a little bit of work that might not quite be financeable yet and wants to send them my way, they are willing to do their own work and they have cash.
Okay.
Who was that speaking? I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Joshua.
Josh Geiger.
Hey, Blair.
I have a smaller investment.
What was that, Audie?
Unspotlight me so that they can see.
Oh,
the
yeah,
speaker.
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, and
I have a small rental investment in Jay that's listed at 60,000. It's 2-bed, 2-bath.
Any acreage?
No, ma'am. 0.25. It's small. I do not recall off the top of my head. I can send it to you in the chat though. It's not too far down from the hospital in Jay. It's a small mobile home. It's a rental property. They've had renters in there for a while that would like to stay. And I only asked them 60,000. Who asked what that? Right now they're getting 700 a month.
That's good. Yeah, you're Kenna.
Yes.
Okay. I'll hit you up later. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Does anybody have any listings coming up in kind of the hot spot